Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to have the second part of functions in Python. Okay, the previous part you can check out in the I button over there. The previous video we have talked about, like return value, return statements, and then we have talked about how we function, how we define a function, how we call a function, and some basics. Now let us move further to of learning functions in Python. Okay, the first thing we are going to learn. Okay, first of all, if you want to know what I'm going to talk about in this video, you can check out in the description. Look for the timestamps over there. Okay, you will get what I'm going to talk in this video. Moving forward, so in this video we're going to talk about none values, then we're going to talk about keyword arguments, different type of arguments, and then local and global scope, one of the most important topic. Okay, now let's start with the none value. So in Python there is a value called none which represents the absence of a value. If there is nothing in the particular variable, then it is assigned to a none. Example, if I want to have a list which has nothing in it, so I'm going to assign it list null. Okay, it is not having anything. So why none comes in context to functions? Because there are some times when the function is not going to return something, so that is called as none. So that is the none value. Example, when we talk about print function. Okay, I'll talk about it afterwards. So when we talk about print function, so print functions is not returning anything but the string which is inserted in it as an argument. Okay, so none is only the value that is inside the none type or none data type. So none data type is a data type in which we have just a value that is none. As when we talk about integer data type, we have or number data type, we have integer, floats, double and stuff. But when we talk about none data type, we just have only one value, that is none. Okay, just as boolean true and false, n of the none must be capitalized, that is n capital, then none as true and false in boolean. The value without the value, this is the none value, it has some value but it is not having any value. It can be helpful when you need to store something that won't be confused for a real value in a variable. As I said you, like if I don't want that variable to assign something, but I want it to be assigned, is assigning that variable by none, if you get that what I want to say. Okay, it should not be confused. So I use none so that the user might not, or the reader who is going to read it must not get confused that what is this particular variable assigned to. It is assigned to none. Okay, one place where return is used is as return value of print. Okay, print is not returning anything, so it is returning none. Let's get to I will get to interactive shell to tell you what I mean by this. Okay, like I'll do this, like if I have say spam, okay, and print hello, print hello. Okay, and if I say to print spam, I'm going to just print hello. Of course, let me save this, let me run this. It is just going to print hello and then it's going to print none because it is not assigning anything. Okay, spam is not having any value, that is to print none, that is to print hello. Okay, so if I say spam, it is not having any value. Okay, but if I say like I assign spam as hello, and then if I say spam, I'm not going to get that. Oops, I get an error because this. So now I just get an error. But what if I call spam, but spam is just printing hello? At that time, it's going to say me that spam is nothing but an hello. Okay, if I say like none, let me do it again over here. Okay, in the interactive cell, like if spam is equals to print none, sorry, print hello, and I say to, and if I ask like is none equals to spam, yes, true, because I told you in the same thing, like sorry, Like if I say to print spam, it's going to print nothing because it is not having any value over there. Okay, it is assigned to none. It is not having anything. Moving forward, keyword argument and print. Okay, so now most argument are identified their positions in the function call. Okay, so when we call a function, we have some arguments and those arguments have specific positions. Okay, for example, when we talk about randoms module randint function, there we have two arguments, 1 and 10. So 1 belongs to the one, that must be the first argument, that belongs to the lower end from where we want to start, and then the second argument is the 10, or let's say the higher end, from where till where you want to end. So the position of argument is, you know, important when it comes to functions. Okay, because if I, you know, what I mean is if I switch those positions, then there will be an issue. Okay, but however, when we talk about keyword arguments are identical by the keyword you put forward. Okay, like when we talk about okay, when the function is called, they are, you know, like optional also sometimes. When we talk about print has a few keyword argument as end and sep. Okay, so end is to be what to be printed at the end, and separate is what to be printed in the between. Let us get to interactive shell and more about let us know more about this, you know, prints keyword argument, that is sep and end. When I talk, like when I say like to print okay, when I say to print hello, okay, this is going to print hello. This is going to get printed as print hello. Okay, for this let me move to the file. Okay, then first of all, when I say to print hello, and then I said to print world. Okay, hello world. If I save it and print it, what I'm going to get is I'm going to get two things on different line. What if I want these two you know, statements on a single line, or this two outputs on a single line? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a argument keyword argument that is end over here. Okay, like this, and see what, and observe what you see is hello world got printed on a single line, although we have two print statements that are on the different lines. So the end keyword, or the end keyword over here is what? It is an argument of print statement which is identified by its keyword. Okay, its position is not fixed. We can have end anywhere. The first argument of course should be the string that you want to print, but the second argument can be end, and it can also be the second thing that I'm going to print. That is like, you do it in the same thing. Like if I have something like cats, then I have dogs, okay, then I have mice. Okay, so these are the three things that I want to print. Now when I run it, what I get is hello world, the previous thing, end function, end using end, and then I got cats, dogs, and mice. But I want these outputs to be separated by commas, like, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the third argument over here. I'm going to write SEP, which tells what you want to separate it with. I want to separate it with comma and a space. So for this, I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it, and you're going to observe like the first thing is end thing, and the second thing is the separating thing. Okay, all the values are separated by commas. Is that clear? So this is how how the keyword argument is. Okay, end and sep for print. So the position over here, what you can see is the end is also there as the second argument, and sep is also there as the second argument. Okay, so end argument ends with a particular, you know, with a particular thing, and when you talk about separate, it is going to separate it with separate the strings with a particular punctuation or anything you want. Moving forward, we have local and global scope. When we talk about functions, And when you talk about programs, this is one of the most important topic. Okay, you need to understand that particular variable is valid for how much part of which block of code. So all the parameters and variables that are assigned in the called functions are said to be exist in that function's local scope. Okay, variables that are assigned outside that functions are said to be exists in the global scope. Okay, let us take an example. Let up all this. I have a function called sum. Again, the same thing. I am gonna take two numbers a and b. Okay, semicolon. Sorry, colon. Then I say return, or let's say sum, is equals to a plus b. Okay, and I'm gonna say to return sum. Okay, now I'm going to assign I'm going to assign a as 3, b as 4, and I'm going to call that function sum. It's going to have, let's say a and b. I think I'm going to get an error. Let's say sum 1 and sum 1 over here also. Sum 1. Okay, so I have called, and I want to print that particular thing, what it's going to return. What is going to be returned? It's going to get return an integer, of course. It is going to return an integer, and that integer will be the sum of these two numbers, that is 3 and 4, of course. Okay, so let us save it and run it. What I see is I get 7. Okay, so it returned an integer. What if I call this sum in this scope? If I say print this sum, I think I'm going to get an error. Why so? Because the sum is not defined. What this over here means is that every variable and every parameter has its own scope. What it has its own scope. That is like the sum over here which I have assigned has the scope till over here, but if I try it over here, it's going to, you know, get an error, of course. Okay, so this is very much important. Let's see what the slide says. So parameters and variables that are assigned in a called functions are said to be exist in that function's local scope. So here in this example, the sum variable sum, s capital, sum over here has its scope till the function is defined. Okay, not outside it. So variables that are assigned outside the functions are said to be exists in the global scope, but the variables which are assigned outside those functions, so a and b are the global variables which can be assigned, which can be, you know, taken from or initialized from anywhere from the program. Okay, do you get that what I mean? Next, variables that exists in local scope is called as local variables. So here the sum is the local variable for that particular function. Okay, while the variables that exist in the global scope is called as the global variables. So here a and b are the global variables. Is that clear? Moving forward. So now let's take this. So consider this scope as a big container. Okay, or let us think of a scope as a big container which has lots of variables. In that particular, what are the variables that are assigned in those programs? But when a scope is destroyed, that means all the values stored in the scope variables are forgotten. When the scope is destroyed in the sense when the function is terminated, when the function is executed. Okay, when the function is executed, that means when the scope is destroyed, what happens? The variables are forgotten. That means when the function is executed, the container is broken and everything is forgotten. Consider this as consider this same situation when you run a program and program terminates. All the memory that was allotted to that program finishes, or, you know, terminates. Okay, all the variables that were assigned in that program, they all get forgotten by the memory. Same is the case with the scopes. When that particular function is executed, the memory forgets the sum variable, as in this example. Okay, moving forward. Do you get that? What do you mean by local and global scope? Local is the scope which is inside that particular, you know, in that particular local variables are the variables which exist in that local scope, and global variable is it in that particular global variable is in global scope. Similar is for not only for functions but also for loops also. When we talk about for loops, okay, there also we have the same thing. You need to assign that thing in the, let us check, or let me explain you by, I think I can explain you. We have a count variable assigned to 0 for now, and we have a list which has some values 4. Okay, these are the values. Now I say for I in range, length of this particular list. Why am I able to use this list for this loop is just because the list function is inside, is outside that particular block. Okay, it is global. List LST, this variable is global, hence I'm able to use the list over here. And if I say like, now I want to count the variable, so count the particular elements of the list. So what I'll write, count plus equals to 1. Just as I move through the elements of the that particular list, I'm just going to count, and then I'm going to print count. Okay, so here the answer must be 4. Let us save and check. So we have 4 as an output. But what if I have not assigned, or I have not, had this variable assigned it globally? Okay, then I might get an error, that is the count is not defined. Do you get what I mean? That the scope of this variable count is just for that loop, not for the whole program, not for the whole block. Yes, not for the whole program, but as I assign the variable count, so I'll get what I want, the desired output. Okay, so this is what is local and global scope. Okay, moving forward, continued. So local and global scope matters for several reasons. As I told you, scope is in the global scope cannot be used, cannot use any local variables. Global scope cannot use any local variable. However, a local scope can access a global variable as here. So this is the global scope which is used by a local scope. Okay, global variable which is used inside a local scope. Do you get what I mean? Code in a function's local scope cannot use variables in any other local scope. Code in a function's local scope cannot use enough variables, as I did in the previous example. Okay, the sum variable is not able to be used in any other local scope. You can use the same name for the different variables if they are in different scopes. Okay, like over here, I can say like I is equals to 0 over here, and I say to print I. I'm going to get different things. Okay, I'm going to get different things. I'll get 4 and 0 because I over here is completely different from which I have initialized over here. Okay, so we have here two variables and they both have different scopes, Okay, now these are the points that we're going to discuss point by point. The first thing is local variables cannot be used in the global scopes. The simple I'm going to take a simple example and we will see it. So local variables cannot be used in global scope. Local scopes cannot use variables in other local scopes. Global variables can be read from local scopes, and global and local variables with the same name. Okay, first thing, the last thing I have discussed already, that I have discussed everything, but this is an example of the last point which I'm talking about, like global and local variables with the same name. So we have global and a local variable with the same name, that is I. Okay, but how it is inside a function, that we want to see. So let's take the first point, that is local variable cannot be used in global scope. Okay, so we have a function called spam, of course. Okay, this has a variable eggs which has the value 1010, let us suppose. Okay, now I'm calling a function spam okay, and then I am printing eggs. What do you think? Will I get an error or will it print the values of eggs? Let us see. We get the error because egg is not defined. So what do you understand? The point is, like, local variables cannot be used in global scope. What is local variable over here? So here egg is what? A local variable. And global variable, we don't have any global variable. So local variable cannot be used as a global, in global scope. So this is global scope, the main function, and this is the local scope. Local variables cannot be used inside a global scope. Moving forward, local scopes cannot use variables in other local scope. Okay, now here we're going to have two functions. Okay, one is spam, okay, which is which has the value eggs, and this is a local variable for spam. And then we call another function which I'm going to define called bacon. Okay, this is another function which I've called bacon, and I'm going to print eggs. Okay, printing of eggs, which is in the local scope. Now I am going to define another function that is bacon. Okay, and I'm gonna say over here, let's say ham, we have 909. Okay, and we have eggs as 0. Okay, and I'm going to call spam over here, and let's see what we get. Okay, save it, run it. What I get is 1010. Let us analyze our program, what we get, what we have. Okay, we have spam. Okay, we called spam, the pointer went to spam, so that egg is initialized to 1011 whatever, and then we have called bacon, ham is initialized, egg initialized, and then we print eggs. Eggs over here in the local scope is 10101, so we get 10101. Is that clear? Okay, if over here, if I say, okay, let's move to the next point, it will, sorry for this. Let's get to our topic. It's going to get way more. Now we have the third point, that is global variables can be read from local scope. Okay, global variables can be read from local scope. So we're going to have just a function. Let's say we have spam. Okay, and I want to print eggs, but this eggs is assigned in the globally. This egg is assigned globally. That is, I have eggs equals to, let's say, 42, and I want to call the function, of course, spam. I'm going to print eggs again. Okay, let's see what we get. I got 42. The first printing is from this spam called, and the second printing is from that global thing only. Do you get that, what I mean? What we see from here is we can use the variables which are assigned globally inside a local scope, of course. Moving forward, and the last part is local and global variables with the same name. Let's again build two functions. We have def spam, okay, and here I have eggs, and I said it like spam's local. Okay, we have it as a spam local, very easy. And I say print eggs because I'm going to use same same name for two variables, so I must know what is printing. So this is from spam local, and then I have a bacon. Okay, and let's say here we have again the same thing, eggs. See, this both have different scopes. Okay, and I say bacon local. Okay, so this is bacon local. I'm going to print eggs over here. Okay, again I say to again I call spam. Now I'm calling spam, and I'm saying to print eggs. Okay, what now? I'm going to create a main function like say eggs which is global. Okay, eggs which is global, and I'm going to call bacon because bacon is having both the functions. Okay, and now I'm going to print eggs over here. So we are going to analyze first what we are going to get. Okay, first of all, eggs is analyzed to global. Okay, no problem. Then we move to bacon. The point to go move to bacon. There it initialized eggs to bacon local. Bacon local got printed. The first printing, but the first output we must get is bacon local. Second, we called spam. So spam, we went to spam, and there we have eggs assigned to spam local, and then we print eggs. So the second must be, let's write an output. So first is bacon. Okay, just write some keywords. Then second we got spam. Then okay, spam is finished. Then it got terminated. Then we have again print eggs. So this egg is going to print this bacon only because it is in its scope. So we're going to get bacon once again, and then the bacon got terminated. We're going to move towards the main program that is printing eggs, which is global. Let's see what we get. I'm going to save it, run it. I got spam local, sorry, bacon local, spam local, bacon local, global. Okay, do you get that? So we can have same variables, that is eggs, eggs, and eggs. Okay, but they all must be in different scopes. So we have local scopes of eggs and bacon, and we have a global scope, the main function. Okay, so this is very much important when we talk about, you know, global thing, global and local, when we talk about functions. Okay, we went to interactive shell and studied everything, so we have local and global scope finished. Now another important thing when it comes to errors and functions, that is exception handling. Okay, till now you used to have some errors and your program would automatically crashes. Okay, you were not able to run the program, and you don't want this to happen in your real world programs, of course. Instead, you want your program to check for that error itself and handle it, and then continue to run. So let's get to interactive shell. This is the last part of our thing, and I think let's see. Now, talking about exception handling, the best exception handling, the basic exception handling you will know is handling zero division error. Okay, so we have this zero division error when something user gives something which is divided by 0. So that is not possible. No, anything cannot be divided by 0, so we get zero division error. So we need to avoid that error. So for avoiding that error, we're going to use exception handling. And when we talk about exception handling, we have two keywords called as try and except. Try this. If nothing happens, then accept it with this. Okay, let's see what error we get when we divide it by, you know, divide by something. So divide by, I have assigned a variable. Okay, then I want to return very simple expression, like I want to divide, let's say 42, and I want to divide by, okay, whatever variable that is given by the user, whatever value that is given by the user, that's going to get divided. Okay, simple. Now I'm going to call a function spam, and I'm going to give the value. I want to print it, of course, because I'm not having any print statement, so I'm going to print it. So print spam. Let's say we have 42 itself, whatever the value get. We have spam, and the user gave me 3. So divide 3 by 42 or 42 by 3, whatever. Then I say to print spam, and the user gave me 0. Again, let me do like spam 1. Okay, so these are the values that user entered. Let us see where we get error and what happens next. Okay, as we ran into the program, what we observed is the first value got printed, second value got printed, but as we went to the third value that user entered, we got a zero division error. Okay, but the last statement was not, you know, executed. So that means if we get an error, the program crashes. So for avoiding this situation, we are going to have a try and except thing. What it means, let's see. So we have this same thing. What I'm going to add is I'm going to add try, indent it a little bit. I'm going to try this. If we get any error, then accept it, accept zero division error. Okay, accept zero division error. This is important. This is, you know, accept it if you get this error, and I want to accept it and run continuing by printing error, like tell the user you have entered an incorrect, you know, incorrect argument. So I'll say like invalid argument, please enter a valid one, and run a program again, whatever. Okay, so now let us check that out. Oops, the same thing. Now let us check that out. I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna run it. What I get is I got the first thing printed, no problem, no issues. Second thing printed. Third thing, I got zero error. Okay, the program didn't crashed. Okay, it is not getting crashed. And then we have the same thing. Now I'm getting, okay, so moving forward, so this is what exception handling is. So for by this, I would like to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, share and comment. Suggest me changes and comment down the doubts. You can get the notes of it on my blogspot, that is eatsleepcoderepeat.blogspot.com. Give me some time, I will type it and I will send you, or it will be updated, of course. And click to subscribe so that you never miss any update. What's next? I have created a perfect plan for data structures and algorithm in Python and C. You can check that out in the description. I have given the link in the description, also in my blog post, Okay, I'm going to discuss that plan in the video. Okay, it's not going to be long. So one more thing about the project. Of course, if I teach you something, then I have a project. So for the project, I'm going to have a guess the game program on my blogspot. Okay, you can check that out. That will be a project like guessing. It is just a short program that is guess the game, and then I'm going to give you some practice projects. That solutions also is going to be on my blogspot. Okay, so check that out. blogspot.com, eatsleepcoderepeat.blogspot.com, and click to subscribe so that you never miss any update from the video. This is the best plan, 22 weeks plan for DSA in Python and C. Okay, it is, the posts are getting updated almost daily, you know, so let's see you there. Thanks.